To me, for a while now, legendary traces, they pretty much feel like glorified special weapon auto rifles that have worse ammo economy. Changed my mind. And a long-standing thought about trace rifles that, well, they're good at ad clear. I mean, are they? I mean, sure, there's some things you can put together, but in the end, I feel there's always a better option, like there always is, and that's a shame. Today's video is about Chronophage, the seasonal void trace rifle, and I was really intrigued by this one. There's only one legendary void trace in the game, and I don't know about you, if I do use a trace, it's mostly going to be an exotic, and I actually know a couple Cenotaph Warlock mains. I see you. But legendary traces, it's a bit of a different story. And in final shape, they got a little buff. It's not enough though. I think that the game's outgrown them. And as far as Bungie putting them out, every now and again, like remember Incisor? It's basically, as far as loot, somewhat of an in-game trace rifle. From Trials, it can be adept. The only legendary strand trace. I mean, it has slice, it has all the things. In theory, it's good. Very good, but no one uses it, and very rarely do you pop into activities and see people using legendary traces. And like I said, the only other legendary void trace in the game is Hollow Denial, so if you missed that one, you want a void trace, this is for you, and this one is better than that one. Though Hollow Denial does have one perk, this one's kind of better overall, and apparently, people are loving this. Can't get enough of it. As you can see, there's a 5-star rating for PvE and PvP, and that's why I never take these seriously, at all. But with what this one can do, what it does, I'm going to go through and talk about the roles, and there are some mistakes you can make, but in the end, I can't really recommend it aside some very, very niche things. This is going to be a pretty quick one, and I'm going to talk about the craft. In the third, we have Strategist, Elemental Capacitor, Shoot to Loot, Pugilist, Autoloading, Feeding Frenzy, Repulsor. In the final column, One for All, High Ground, Fragile Focus, Target Lock, Demolitionist, Desperate Measures, and Destabilizing Rounds. When we look at the barrel and battery, one thing to kind of keep in mind, 99.9% of the time using a backup mag, but here's the deal with this weapon. If you used a battery on it to up the mag, let's say enhanced battery, all it does is give you a couple from base, and the thing maxes out at 104. So really, your battery is going to be something else, and I'll get into that. First, going to start with the perk combinations, and one that stands out is Repulsor Brace Destabilizing Rounds. Down a target, nearby targets become volatile. There's a 3-second cooldown. I still think that they should change that. You down to debuff target, you get an overshield. So these have always worked together. But like playing with it in activities, it didn't feel overwhelmingly great. Maybe someday down the line, trace rifles are for champions. It might become useful, but in the end, for this combination, if you have one, use a Recluse. Use an Elsie's rifle. Use a Vouchsafe. And something like Elsie's is good for champions right now. There's even Claws of the Wolf from Iron Banner. But using it in activities, just running around with it, it didn't feel like I was mowing through things with a combination like this. And yeah, we're going to get into some damage perks in a second, but those damage perks on primary weapons are, I think, going to be just as good. One of the main things it does have going for it is the Radial Area Transposer. Now, the damage that it does doesn't light the world on fire, but it's good for a couple things on these weapons. Every now and again, it's going to down something walking through it. But the main thing, any type of AoE, it ticks. So it could be Volatile, it could be Scorch, Unravel. It's adding on extra damage, and it creates more downs. So something like Destabilizing Rounds with the Radial Area Fluid, I think is pretty good. That's going to be a really nice default. Repulsor Destabilizing, maybe they buff traces, maybe they buff the perks, maybe it's for champions, good default. But one of my main issues with it is that it's a special weapon taking the place of a primary weapon. And for some things, that's an issue. I love Strategist, Pugilist, Demolitionist. There are primary weapons you can get these combinations on. And I think it's just going to be better. Because it starts with 104, you have about high 300 ammo and reserves. So 4 mags for it, essentially. You're running around trying to find special ammo. And the things that you're doing with this, the perks that it has, your special ammo is going to be way better beneficial in another special weapon. That's from Wither Horde to Divinity. And the main purpose of ad clear is to clear ads very efficiently and quickly. And within this spot, there is Sunshot, there is Tiku. The list goes on and on. There are rocket sidearms with Pugilist Incandescent. There's so many. So it's very, very hard to justify its usage, just out of the gate. If it did a lot more damage, then we could start talking. And as I'm going on here, the things I'm talking about, it's not just for this trace rifle, it's all legendary traces, like Bungie. You gotta do something about them. And at this point of the review, I want to stress again, very niche things. You might have a build or a certain thing that you want to do, then yeah, go right ahead. But the majority of us, it just doesn't have a place. And one of those niche things, it does have Shoot to Loot. That's going to be very good, especially for low man things, right? Maybe Shoot to Loot, One for All, or Demo, whatever it is. I'm not saying that that is bad, because it's not. It's actually quite good. It's just that, again, a lot of things that this thing's doing can be done from a primary weapon. I'd much rather use a Shoot to Loot kinetic trimmers, hand cannon, or pulse than this. When we look at the damage perks, we have Desperate Measures, not bad. Target Lock, not very good against elites. And Ultras, I mean, it's not putting out enough to justify that perk, especially with the ammo that you have. So I'd say that is out. It's really going to go to One for All. Hit 3 separate targets, 35% more damage. You're downing them quicker. You're conserving more ammo. So something like Pugilist One for All, Shoot to Loot One for All, Strategist One for All. I think that's the main role for this thing, aside from that default Repulsor Destabilizing. But even then, there's Doom with explosive payload 1 for all, Midnight Coup explosive payload 1 for all, Hung Jury kinetic tremors 1 for all, and Hung Jury is going to take on the 1 for all damage for kinetic tremors. The list goes on. So the roles to consider really is that Strategist, Pugilist, Shoot to Loot 1 for all. If you want to do double up abilities, you can, Strategist Demo, Pugilist Demo, then there's Repulsor Destabilizing. Aside from that, it feels like it's missing. And again, when you craft it, I crafted mine with Fluted Barrel, a Reload Masterwork, and Tac Battery. With Backup Mag, it goes to 104. So this gives the best overall stat split. 72 range, 84 stability, 66 handling, 64 reload, 100 aim assist. It's going to reload better. It's going to handle stow a little bit better. The stability's fine. The range is good. But again, most of us are using exotic traces when we do use one, because those have applications and they're useful. You're searching for ammo a lot with these, and they're not mowing as quickly and efficiently as they should. At least I think so. If you haven't used one in a while, bring one out. See what it's all about. I used it in Crucible for a little bit, and there are a couple options here. Like, first of all, target locks out. Your time to kill is over before it even starts proccing. And again, if you want something like Demolitionist, Strategist, Pugilist, all that's going to be better on a primary weapon. Fragile Focus, kind of wasted. 1 for all is getting a little crazy. It really comes down in that 4th column to Desperate Measures and High Ground. Both of them aren't bad. These have a base 0.73 TTK, 11 crits, 1 body. You'll be seeing tier 4 and above most of the time for the 0.73. With High Ground 3, all you have to do is be a little bit higher, land 1 shot, then you can be mobile. Tier 9 and below, you do a 0.6 TTK, 10 crits. But with Desperate Measures, you can 9 crit 2 body, tier 8 to 10. Tier 5 to 7, you can 8 crit 3 body. So it makes it a lot easier. But after using it, it's kind of the same deal as PvE. Like, the ammo just isn't there, and they've kind of nuked trace rifles for a while now. You start off with 25 rounds. It takes 12 to down something. And there's going to be body shots you're going to miss. Maybe you down them, but you're still on the trigger just for a split second, like you're losing ammo that whole time. So at the end of 1 kill, you have what, 10, 11, maybe less, maybe a little bit more. Most of the time, not enough for a second down. When you grab ammo, I believe it's in the 30s, like 35. So really, you're going to be ammo. And if you're ammo spawn hunting anyway, you should be running Forerunner. Straight up. It's a 0.6 TTK. And like, that's another thing about legendary trace rifles, like not just this one. The more that you work it out and talk it out, the more obvious it gets. And as you know, you get kills with your special weapon. You don't get any special ammo, so you have to get kills with your primary. These do not flow well in this current sandbox at all. You can go around and find a couple bricks, sure, get a 0.73 TTK to get down to a 0.67 and then to a 0.6. Or you can just use an LC's rifle for a 0.67 off the rip all the time. And you can add on things like Radiant to High Ground, all that. Like, that's just way too much work. That is not worth it. Do not do that. I could go through, again, a number of things that pair with Radiant better. Not too long ago, another weapon from this set, Time Worn Wayfarer, the whole High Ground Radiant, 2 taps for a 0.5. Like, do that. I was originally excited because it's the second Void Trace. It has different perks, but in the sandbox, no matter where you are, it felt weak, it doesn't feel good. And I'm not saying there's not niche things you can do. You're going to know what those are, and if you find it beneficial, do it. But for most of us, there's a primary weapon that could replace it. And again, that's a shame. It was actually painful to get all the gameplay for this video, so as of right now, it's a miss. Bungie, buff them, or do something to them. I don't care what it is. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Let's talk about this trace rifle and all the other ones down below. There's a couple really cool ones. I just wish that they were more powerful. And it seems like the future, most are just going to keep defaulting back to an exotic with their special things that they do. I'd love to hear your thoughts, though. I could be way off. Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.